All right, we're going to read our last 3 chapters in Resist. I hope you're enjoying this book, and I hope you find this time of day relaxing for you. And hopefully we can be back together again soon and back in the classrooms and back to the books that you were reading in IE. I know we're all looking forward to that. Hopefully it will be soon. The next 3 chapters that I'm going to read are Rupert 2, The End of a Rescue, and Frou Frou. Sabiri and her mom have to make some pretty tough choices in these next few chapters, and I want you to think about what choices they make, and are they wise choices or foolish choices? Samiria fumbled for the knife the British soldier had given her. It wasn't for the Nazi soldier. There was no way she could do anything to hurt the rifleman with her dagger. The knife was for Rupert too. Samira attacked the string connecting Rupert to his parachute. Snip, snip, snip. The British paratrooper, Clark had been right. The knife was sharp. It cut through the cords with ease. As each one was cut, Rupert too twisted and jerked, dropping another few centimeters. The Nazi soldier was getting closer. Any second now he would be right beneath the tree where Samaria was hiding, where the crashing battle sound effects were still booming from inside the pouch under Rupert II's uniform. The Nazi would look up. He would see her there in the tree. He would understand that there was no real Allied soldier here, and he would take aim at her with her rifle, and snip. Samaria cut another cord, and she jumped as Rupert too shot down through the branches, his parachute whipping down through the tree behind him. The dummy tumbled as it fell, hitting branch after branch, and Samira held her breath, waiting for the explosion. The Nazi soldier looked up to see Rupert too falling right towards him. The rifleman cried out and threw a hand up, but he was too slow to move out of the way. Rupert too landed right on top of him, knocking him to the ground. But nothing happened. There was no explosion. The Nazi and Rupert too lay in a heap together. The parachute fluttered down on top of them both. The battle sound effects were not playing anymore. The wire must have come loose again in the fall, Samira thought. The rifleman kicked and cursed and tried to fight his way out from under the dummy and the parachute and the cords, but still Rupert too did not explode. Any second now, the Nazi would be free. Samira did not know what to do. Should she climb down? Climb up? She had expected the dummy to explode. She had needed the dummy to explode. Instead, all she had done was kick the wasp's nest. The Nazi soldier fought his way free of the parachute and his eyes met Samira's. He glowered at her, angry at being tricked, mad at having a dummy and a parachute drop on him, and he reached for his rifle. Still lying on his back, the German soldier lifted his weapon, found Samira and his rifle sight, and pulled the trigger. The next chapter is The End of a Rescue. Yip! At that same moment the German rifle fired. Serrano came flying in and clamped his tiny jaws around the man's wrist. Pow! The rifleman's shot went flying, splintering a branch just to the right of Samira's head, and he cursed again. He struggled with the parachute cords and with Serrano, trying to get to his feet. Off in the distance, Samira could see the rifleman's shot had gotten the attention of the second Nazi soldier who was coming their way. As a distraction, she and Serrano, and Rupert too, had done a bang-up job. But now what? Hang on, Serrano, Samira yelled. I'm coming. The little dog growled and bit down harder, thrashing back and forth as the Nazi rifleman cried out in pain. He let go of his rifle and tried to pull Serrano away. Samira dropped from branch to branch as quickly as she dared. There was a long way to go, and what she was going to do when she got there she had no idea. She still had the dagger, at least. Just as she thought about the knife and what she might have to do with it, Samira's foot slipped. She reached out in panic for another branch to steady herself and caught it, but the knife went tumbling from her hands. She watched in horror as the knife bounced off branches all the way down. then skittered away on the forest floor, disappearing into the undergrowth. Samira had no weapon now, no chance against two Nazi soldiers with guns. Samira clambered down the rest of the way, her heart hammering in her chest. The last branch to the ground was a drop, and she landed feet first, but tumbled back on her bottom with an oof. When she looked up, the second Nazi soldier, the one with the machine gun, had run up and was standing right over her. Samira closed her eyes and curled up into a ball, trembling. Wham! Samira felt a thump on the ground and opened her eyes. The German soldier with the machine gun lay unconscious at her feet. Her mother, Kenza Zidane, stood over him with a shovel in both hands. Frou frou. Samira's mother tossed her shovel aside and picked up the machine gun of the unconscious soldier had dropped. She swung it towards the rifleman who was still struggling with Serrano and the parachute. Enough, she said in French. It is over. The German soldier understood enough to stop struggling and put his hands up. Serrano seemed to understand too, and he let go of the soldier's wrists and backed away, still growling, still watchful. Samira's mother picked up the Nazi's rifle and slung it over her shoulder. Samira stood and flew at her mother, wrapping her in a hug. Mom, Samira cried. Love of my life, Samira's mother said. She hugged Samira back as best as she could while still aiming the machine gun at the soldier. You did a very foolish thing coming here when I told you not to, she said. But a very brave one, too, she added. Samira's heart soared. Foolish or not, brave or not, it had worked, and that's all that really mattered to Samira. Her mother was safe, and so were the other prisoners. They came up behind Kenza Zidane, mothers and grandparents hugging their young ones. Many of them were crying. They all knew how close they had come to dying, and the relief in their faces was heartbreaking. Samira waved her mother and the others back. Be careful. The dummies on the parachutes, they explode, Samira said. The German soldier who had been struggling with the parachute understood enough French to freeze, suddenly horrified by the buried dummy he lay beside. Samira's mother and the others moved back, leaving him alone with the explosion. Get yourself out of there, Kenza told the German soldier. When he's free, she told the others, if he doesn't blow up, tie him to the tree. You're not going to kill him, one of the old men among the prisoners said. They were about to shoot us and bury us in a mass grave. And if we kill him now, then we will be no better, Samira's mother said. We will leave him for the Allied soldiers. The invasion began this morning. It is true they have been parachuting in and coming in on gliders all night, Samira said. That is why all the German soldiers left Beirut. They are running. That caused a flurry of conversation among the prisoners. Move, Samira's mother told the Nazi soldier. Very slowly, very carefully, the German rifleman slid out from under the parachute and away from Rupert too. The dummy did not explode when the rifleman was clear. Some of the women tied him and the unconscious German soldier to the tree with the belts and with bootlaces. Serrano yipped excitedly, making Samira scared that some other Nazi soldiers had found him, but his tail wagged furiously and he barked happily as he tore through the crowd into the outstretched arms of a little girl half Samira's age. Frou frou, the little girl cried, and the tiny dog licked her face all over. Frou frou. Samira had given the dog the name Serrano because she didn't know what his real name was, and over the last few hours he had become Serrano for her. But his real name was Frou Frou, apparently, and he, too, had rescued his family. Samira felt a tinge of sadness about his sudden abandonment, but she understood. The girl and his mother was his real family. Serrano and Samira had just been temporary allies with a common goal. What do we do now? One of the women prisoners asked. If the Nazis really have abandoned Beirut, it's probably safest not to go back there for now, Samira's mother said, and everyone agreed. Samira's mother kept the machine gun for herself and gave the rifle to one of the older men, and together they began the tired, weary walk back to the city. Along the way, Samira held her mother's hand tight. She wasn't sure she was ever going to let go again. Her mother squeezed her hand, and Samira laid her head against her mother's side. I didn't think I would be able to save you, Samira told her mother. Everywhere I went, I met people who could help, but they said no. The French resistance, the Allied soldiers, the people of Beirut, no one could help me. Oh, but they did, Samira's mother said. None of them, no one of them saved us, but each of them, in their own way, they did the jobs that they were supposed to do, which allowed you to do your job, to rescue me and to rescue all of these people. You are a hero, Samara Dezane. I am proud of you, Samara glowed. As they walked, Samara felt a painful nip at her heels. It was Serrano, saying hello, to let her know that she had not forgotten her, that he had not forgotten her. You are a very good dog, Serrano, Samira told him. She still could not bring him to call him Frou-Frou. What do we do now? Samira asked her mother. For the past 3 years, she and her mother had worked for the French resistance, but now it seemed like the war was over. There is still much work to be done, love of my life, Samira's mom said. The war is not finished, not by a long way. If the invasion is successful, and I pray it is, we here in Normandy may soon be safe, but there is still the rest of France and all of Europe and our homeland in Algeria and many other places left to be freed. We will continue to resist when we need to. Samira nodded. And what about today? She asked. Her mother smiled. Today, today we will welcome our liberators into Beirut, and we will help them where we can. And then, Samira, I believe we have earned ourselves a good night's sleep. Hope you enjoyed the book. Alan Gratz has a number of other books out there. This book parallels the book of Allies, where you meet a number of other characters in their D-Day invasion. It's another great book. If you haven't read it, it might be on Bridges, or check it out from a library when you get back. But Alan Gratz, I hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you back again school soon. Bye.